This is another excerpt from my upcoming book entitled, If I Weren't Black, I'd Join the Klan. This chapter deals with the black church. May I present to you the ultra-spiritual black church. First of all, let me say right off, I will not justify, validate, condone, or encourage anything that goes against the precepts or principles of the Holy Bible. That's not my intention. This is not a chapter written to appease the atheist or the agnostic. Although some of the spiritual and traditional actions of the church exhibited by our people may be used as ammunition for the secular world or to mock the black church, they cannot mock God. I may include a few scriptures here and there. However, I use them only for cross-reference or as a means to show how far off or literal the word is being taken, for certain persons' convenience, that is. This is not a sermonic chapter, although it is my intention that this entire book, including this chapter, provide revelation and insight into our thinking as a race. There are quite a few books that were written that examine the spiritual transition of black people, books that annotated our ancestral religious beliefs from Africa through slavery and beyond. We admit that we embrace the religion of our slave owners, abolitionists, puritans, and so forth. Those of us that could read became the self-proclaimed spiritual leaders of the day and fed us their interpretations of the Bible based on their limited understanding and even more limited study resources. There was a reverend acting as pastor and one or two deacons whose responsibility was to aid the pastor and help with the order of service. Being a reverend was an honored position in the black community. Families would invite the pastor over for dinner, prepare him a plate to take back to his family if he had one, and put a few pennies in his pocket if they could afford it. Oh, but long gone are those days. The black church has taken Ephesians 4:12, which reads, "And he gave some apostles, some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of the Christ." They've taken that to another level. You can walk into any storefront black church with 20 members in it, and sitting high above the congregation in a chair fit for a king is Bishop so-and-so. Sitting at his side is Prophetess Tell-It-All. The guest speaker from the storefront church around the corner is Apostle been in jail. Void are any degrees in theology, any time spent at a seminary, and in some cases no education at all. But it's okay, because they're quick to tell you that Moses stuttered, King David was a liar, Jacob was a thief, and most commonly, God had called them, so that justifies their position in church. They are modern-day Google preachers who spout Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek words not as a way of teaching or edifying God's people, but as a way of placing themselves one rung higher on the spiritual ladder than the next preacher. They have developed a spiritual protocol that mimics the rankings of the United States military. A deacon strives to be a minister strives to be a pastor strives to be a bishop, and a bishop strives to be an apostle. Along the way, they pick up what is now so common they seem like biblical monikers like prophet, prophetess, grand apostle, senior apostle, even archbishop. They have watered down the offices held by the true disciples of Christ and made themselves a mockery to the secular world. Every preacher thinks that he has a revelation for God's people that have never been preached before. Newsflash, do you really think that after 2,000 years, millions of ministers, preachers, theologians, etc., that there's a possibility that there's a new revelation? Sure, it may be new to the 10 or 20 naive members in their church, but the problem is nowadays that there is no desire to be Christ-like anymore. It seems like there's a desire to be Christ, especially in the black church.